We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Hayamid Beis in Meseches Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 75b. And the previous Amud in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer said that a person is able to annul the vows of his wife in advance, meaning before she actually makes the vows, he can pronounce the annulment. And the question the Gemara asked is it that the neder is not chal at all, or do we say the neder is chal and is immediately annulled? And the Gemara asked, Lamai nafkamina, what difference does it make? And the Gemara now answers, Kagon de itfis achrina bahade nidra. Let's say somebody else tied his neder to this particular neder. The Mefarish explains, de itfis achrina bahade nidra, Kagon, shenadra benazir. For example, let's say the neder she made was that she would become a Nazira. V'yamra hareini Nazira, she said, I'm a Nazira. V'shamei shachar v'yamar v'ani kamokach. Some other person heard her say that, and he said, I also am going to be like her. So now it makes a difference if we say the neder that she made is chal and immediately annulled, or is it not chal at all? Because again, the itfis achrina b'hadei nidra iamrit cholin have tfisusa. If you're going to say that her neder is chal and then immediately annulled, according to Rabbi Eliezer, so the tfisa will take place. In other words, that second person's neder will take effect because it's dependent on her neder. But iamrit lo cholin. But if you're going to say her neder is not chal at all, so loika mashasha, there is no substance to her neder, and therefore the second person's neder will not take effect. And the Gemara continues, so what is the halacha according to Rabbi Eliezer? Again, if he's annulling these nedarim of his wife's in advance, are they chal and immediately annulled, or are they not chal at all? And the Gemara says, Tashma, come and hear a proof. Amar Rabbi Eliezer says, Im hafer nedarim shabo lechlal iser. So in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer said, if you're able to annul vows that have already come into prohibition, lo yafer nedarim shalo bo lechlal iser. Certainly, shouldn't the husband be able to be mefer the nedarim in advance before they came to the category of iser? So shma mino lo chalin. Don't we see from the language of Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah that it's not chal at all because he says lo bo lechlal iser. They didn't come into the category of iser. That sounds like the nedarim are not chal at all. And the Gemara says, no, mikatani she'enon boin shelo bo katani, adayin lo bo. It doesn't say that they don't come into the category of Isser whatsoever because of the fact that in advance he annulled the vow. What it says in the Mishnah is that they haven't yet come into the category of Isser, meaning at the time of the pronouncement, the neder hasn't yet been made by the wife. That's what lo bo means. So it means lo bo adayin. They still haven't yet come, but it could be when she actually makes the neder, it could very well be that the neder is chal and immediately annulled. There is no proof from the language of Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear the following proof. This is from a Tosefta. Amar lahen Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says to the Chachamim, Uma b'mokum she'ein mefer nidrei atzmo, mishenodar mefer nidrei atzmo ad shelo yoder. If we know that a person is not able to annul his own vows once he makes the neder, but he is able to annul his vows before he makes the neder. What we're referring to over here is, the Mefarish says, mefer nidrei atzmo ad shelo yoder kidetanan beperak arbon nedarim. We learned this earlier. Harotza shelo yiskaimu nedarim. Let's say a person doesn't want his nedarim to take effect, so Yamud B'Rosh Hashanah v'Yomar Kol Neder v'Chulu. He can stand up in advance at the beginning of the year, and he could say, all nedarim that I make, they should not take effect. And that's what Rabbi Eliezer means to say when he says, Mefer Nidrei Atzmo Ad Shelo Yider. He's able to be made for his nedarim in advance. So Mokum Shemefer Nidrei Ishto. So in a situation where a husband is able, in general, to be made for the nedarim of his wife, Misha Tidor, from when she actually makes the neder. So Eino Din Sheyafer Nidrei Ishto Ad Shelo Tidor. So certainly in advance, he should be able to annul the vows of his wife. That's the argument that Rabbi Eliezer makes. And so the Gemara now says, My lav, the ishto dumya delay. Is it not saying a comparison between him and the way he annuls the vows of his wife? Mahu, just like by him, the lo chaylan, that we're really saying they're not chal at all. If a person by Rosh Hashanah says the nedarim shouldn't be chal, it's not that they're chal and they're annulled. They're not chal at all. So af ishto nami, so too by his wife, the lo chaylan, they're not going to be chal at all, because that's the comparison being made between delay between his vows and between her vows. And the Gemara says, lo, no, not necessarily. Hachid isa v'hachid isa. It could be that each one follows its own set of rules. By his nedarim, when he annuls them in advance at Rosh Hashanah, they are not chal at all. But when it comes to his wife's nedarim, when he annuls them in advance, so maybe they are chal, and then they're immediately annulled. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear another proof. And this is also from the Tosefta. Amru lo Rabbi Eliezer. They said to Rabbi Eliezer, Uma mikvah shemales hatamein mitumasan. If it's true by a mikvah that a mikvah is able to make things that are tameh and make them not tameh, make them pure, ein matzil al hatahorim mili tameh, but a mikvah is not able to prevent something that is pure from becoming tameh. So when it comes to a person, she'ein males hatamein mitumasan, that's not able to bring something from impurity to purity, eino dinu shelo yatzil al hatahorim mili tameh. Isn't it true that he will not be able to save something that is pure from becoming tameh? That is the argument of the Chachamim back to Rabbi Eliezer. There's a number of explanations of what exactly that argument is, but in any case, the Gemara says, Shma mino lo chayil, and you see from the phrasing of the Chachamim that the neder is not chal at all, because they are using a language here of prevention, indicating that we're talking about the fact that her nedarim, the wife's nedarim, will not be chal at all. And we will take a look at two explanations of what the Chachamim exactly are arguing. First, the Mefarish, Adam she'ein males hatame mitumaso eino din shelo yatzil ala tahorim militame. If you have a person who is not able to purify something, so certainly should not be able to prevent tumah. Hachi perusha, the explanation is as follows: Adam she'ein males hatmei mituma, a person cannot take something that's tamei and make it tahor. Shimbola tabas tamei v'hikia derech beis harei. Let's say a person swallows a ring that is tamei and then he excretes that ring. Lo amar tahavi kechli glolin. We don't say that it turns into kli glolin. Kli glolin are vessels that are made of dung. V'tala mitumas. We don't say that in that way it becomes pure. Kli glolin generally do not contract tumah. Eino din shelo yatzil ala tahorim militame. So certainly a person is not going to be able to prevent something that's pure from becoming tameh. And the Mefarish understands shimbola tabas tahora. Let's say a person again were to swallow a ring that was tar in this case, kidei lohakia derech beis harei, again in order to excrete it, shelo takabel tumah la'achar kein. You're going to say he's doing that in order to prevent the tumah from coming after, mivnei shehi keglolim, because he's turning it in to clay galolim she'ein metame, which in general don't become tameh. And the point is, says the Mefarish, uchashem she'ein matzil ala tahora militame, just like a person is not able to save something pure from becoming tameh, kalikar at all, kach lo yeh moelo la'orus kishemefer l'nidrei ishto sha'asido lidor. So too, the same thing is going to be true by an orus. When a person betroths a woman, he won't be able to prevent her nedarim from being chal in advance. And the Rosh over here has a slightly different girsa, which makes it more clear what the argument of the Chachamim is. Amru lo Rabbi Eliezer mikvah yochiach shamalas hatmei mitumasan. They said to Rabbi Eliezer, mikvah proves the other way because it's able to purify betvila through immersion. Ve'eno matzil al hatahorim militame, but it's not able to prevent pure things from becoming tamei. Shareitar hatovel kedei lihinatzel mituma im yiga bosheretz eina moelaslo. A person can't go into a mikvah to prevent himself from becoming tamei from a sheretz. Lihinatzel mituma, to save from tumah. And the gears of the Rosh has is afani avibal. The same is true when it comes to a husband. It's a direct argument to a husband. Afa pishamei for nidrei ishto mishatidor, even though he's able to annul the vows of his wife from when she makes the vow. Eino mefer ad shelo tidor. She's not able to do that before he's not able to do that before she actually makes the vow. Shma mina lo chayli. You see from here again that if he does this in advance, according to Rabbi Eliezer, her nedarim are not chal at all. Midemaisu rabbonin Rabbi Eliezer raya mi mikvah she'eno matzil ala tahorim. From the fact that the rabbonin bring this argument from mikvah, which doesn't prevent the tumah, milakabel tumah mechlal deshamin and leila Rabbi Eliezer, that implies that they understood Rabbi Eliezer held to have a omar bin nedarim shabal mefer lo le'inyan zeh shelo yachulu klal. Sounds like Rabbi Eliezer is saying again the nedarim are not chal at all. V'yaham ma'isi raya mi mikvah. That's why they're bringing a raya from mikvah. The afagav the moel l'tumah she'avra eino moel l'tumah she'asida lavo shelo tachol olav. Even though a mikvah can help to take away tumah that already was contracted, it's not able to prevent the tumah from being chal. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph.